So recently my son came home from college and we had this conversation about setting expectations for your life. We were going out to lunch that day and having a conversation in the car, and the car tends to be like the best place for us to have our conversations since he was a little boy. But we were just talking and chatting about how things have been going in school, and of course asked the all important question of how are your grades? How is everything going academically? Because of course I'd already asked him all the things about how he's doing, how he's doing emotionally and, how everything is financially. And then we started talking about the grades from last semester, and his grades were good, but they weren't what he was hoping for exactly. But that was his first semester, jumping in all the way, trying to figure out this whole new thing where he's living on his own and trying to do all the things that he's not used to doing. And I think that they were good grades, but he had higher expectations for what he thought they were going to be. So then I just asked him, like, what are your goals for this quarter's grades? And he started to share with me his expectations or his ideas for what he thought his grades would be this coming quarter. He said, I'm shooting for all A's, but I expect B's. And I was like, I don't think that makes a lot of sense. Hold up, let's talk about that. So we had a little discussion about expectation. And so that is the subject that I want to share with you about today, is setting expectation for your life. What is it that you're expecting on a daily basis? So what he said was he was shooting for A's, but he was expecting B's. And to me, in my mind, that just is backwards. And I just said, if you're expecting that you're going to have B's, you will have B's, because you do get what you expect in life. You get what you're looking for. Even though you're shooting for A, you're expecting B, you're going to get what you expect. Shooting for the A's means you're also expecting to get A's. So I just had to help him get a different perspective. And by the end of our conversation, he was like, yeah, I'm going to shoot for A's and expect A's. And then if something else happens, it happens. But he's at least shooting and expecting for the same goal. So in that conversation ended, I was thinking about how we really do get what we expect out of life, or what we expect out of our day, or what we expect out of what we're doing. Every time I've had an expectation for something good to happen in my life, it has happened, like every single time. And every time I have an expectation for something bad to happen or something not so awesome to happen, that's what happens. Whether it's just a mundane day, like, oh, today's not going to be extraordinary, it's just going to be a normal, everyday, average day, then it is. But if I wake up in the morning and I have this expectancy, like, today's going to be awesome, I'm going to do this, I'm going to accomplish that, it's going to be a fun, joy-filled day, or whatever it is that I say I'm expecting for the day, I wake up with this attitude of a certain thing happening. That is ultimately what happens in my day. And I've seen this happen over and over and over again. And I just want to share a couple examples of that with you. So years ago, I was in a lot of credit card debt. I had to deal with a lot of credit card debt from a really bad situation that I got myself into. And I was trying to figure out ways to get out of it. So what I did was call the creditors, each one of them. I had a lot of them. And I just said, hey, here's the situation. I can't pay you this, but I can pay you that. And every time I hung up the phone, I walked away with what I wanted, like with what I said I could pay. And it was always less than half of what I actually owed that credit card company. And now my friends and people that knew me closely, that I was telling what I was doing to, they were like, how are you getting this kind of response? There's two answers to that. One, I have the favor of God in my life, and you do too if you'll just recognize it and walk in it. That's definitely number one. But two, I had an expectancy that they were going to say yes. I had an expectancy that it was going to work out, not just because I said so, but because I know that God works all things out for my good, and that in the situation that I was in was for my good, and that was how I could handle taking care of the situation that I had gotten into. I ended up being able to pay off all of the debt that I owed during this crazy season for less than half of what I owed, because I just called. I expected something good to happen. I expected what I was asking for to happen actually happen, and it did. And I was just reminding my son of that even that day that we were having that conversation. And because he remembers me going through that when he was younger, and I'd say, look what God did. Look what God did. I would always tell my children that. And you guys can hear a lot more about all the things that God did with an expectancy in my book, because I even talk about how I share all of the things that God did during a really difficult season of my life in my book. And you guys can get a copy of that on my website, and I'll put a link to that in the description below. But you guys can actually get the first 3 chapters right now for free. So go ahead and click over to my website, grab the first 3 chapters for free. It's downloadable and you can read it at your leisure. And then if you want to read more, you can grab my book on Amazon. Another example of having an expectation and having a high expectation for something working out versus having a lower or mediocre expectation and it working out is whenever I was much younger, I was a waitress. I waited tables, I served tables, and I loved my job. I really did. I loved doing that. And I did that for a long, long time. Most days I would just stand in the mirror getting ready and think to myself, what is my goal for how much I want to make today in tips? And there would usually have this number in my mind of $100 or $130 was usually kind of my number. And I used to work at an IHOP, so it's not like the tips were huge there, okay? So I just really felt like if I set an expectation for what I was going to make that day, I was going to attain it. So I started doing this just as an experiment. Like I say today, I'm going to make $100. And I would go into work with that attitude, and I would work hard, and I would smile, and I would be friendly, and I would be kind, and I would serve those tables to the best of my ability. And I would walk out of that restaurant 4, 5, or 6 hours later with $100 in my pocket or more, usually more, but at least that $100 mark. And then there would be days that I would wake up and I would just be like, man, today is gonna stink. I am not gonna have a good day. I don't feel it today. Ugh, I don't wanna do this today. I just kind of had a bad attitude. I would just feel like, I'm probably just gonna make 40 or 50 bucks today. Like it's gonna be slow, I know it. I would have this totally different mindset, a totally opposite one where everything was, and maybe it was a day that I had seen before not be as busy, like a Tuesday versus a Saturday, where most people are out to eat on Saturday with their family. They're not so much out to eat on Tuesdays. And I would go to work with that attitude and I'd say, man, I'm probably gonna make 30 or 40 bucks. And I would work, but I would not work hard. I would work kind of ish. I would do all of my job, but I wouldn't do it with excellence. And I would walk out of that store that day with less than what I thought I was gonna walk out with, or right at it, every single time. And so I just learned really early on to have a good expectancy for what I wanted for the day. And if I had a good expectancy, I was definitely gonna get somewhere close to that. So I say all that to say this. If you have an expectancy for your life that things are gonna be mediocre or ho-hum, or this is the way it is and this is the way it's always been, that saying that people say, like, it is what it is not necessarily an accurate one, because it is what it is, sure, but it's also, it is what you make it. So it is what it is until you change it. So you can change your day, your attitudes, your finances, your future, your whatever you're trying to change or get better at. You can change it. Like, it's not just it is what it is, and this is how it's always been, and this is how it always will be, and I can't do better, or I've tried and it didn't work before, or whatever those limiting beliefs, those things that cause you to have a lower expectancy, to just stop it. Coming from somebody who's been like an Eeyore personality before, I've definitely been on the more glass half empty, negative side of life, having a negative expectation for how things are going to work out. But it comes from being told the majority of my life, don't get your hopes up. Don't expect blah, 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 whatever it was. I was told that all the time, and you maybe have been as well. So I understand that perspective. And I just say that you don't have to stay there. Even if it's something that's kind of been ingrained into you and you feel like you are used to thinking that way, or used to, that's your knee-jerk response, is to think the automatic, like, wow, this is not going to work out, or I'm probably wasting my time, or why am I even trying, or I have an expectancy for C's, or whatever it is in your life. I would just encourage you to have a higher expectation and see what happens, because it really doesn't take much to have a high expectation for your life. and you can see some really amazing results start to happen and some things start to change. Your whole outlook and your attitude on life can totally change if you'll just take a minute, step back and say, what do I really expect out of this situation? And if you're expecting bad, then take a minute and try to rewrite the script in your mind and say, no, currently I'm expecting this to be really bad. Like currently the weather forecast says tornadoes, right? But you can change the forecast. You have the power to do that. All you have to do is stop and rewrite the script, rewrite the forecast and say, today is gonna be a sunny day. It's gonna be beautiful outside. And then when you open that front door to walk out it, chances are it's going to be like it is here today and sunny with lots of clouds. So you guys are probably seeing a lot of changes in the way my room looks because there's clouds going by the sun constantly. Sorry about that. But anyways, it's a sunny day and I'm super thankful for that. So I've seen expectancy work over and over again in my life, whether it's for the bad or for the good. If you have a good expectancy, good things are going to come your way and good things are just going to happen. If you have an expectancy for nothing good to happen, for everything to turn out poorly, then chances are it will. So it's something I heard a long time ago that I've used on my kids. So anytime they felt like this is going to be bad because it was new or they didn't know how to do it, I would tell them this: whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And so whether you expect good or you expect bad, you're right. So don't set your hopes low in hopes that you'll be wrong and get something better than what you hoped for. No, set your hopes high and shoot high and look for high and expect high, and you will get there. You'll get what you're looking for and it'll be better than you expected. So I hope this little tip today that I have learned and I've had to be reminded of myself pretty often, whether it's on a whiteboard or whether it's on my mirror in my bathroom or stickers on my dashboard, that just to remind me to have a better attitude, have a positive outlook, and remember that everything isn't perfect, but it can be better than I expect if I have a low expectancy. So I hope you guys have found this video helpful. And if you have, please just take a minute and give this video a thumbs up and just leave me a little comment below telling me what you think of this idea of having a high expectation for things. And I'm not talking about unrealistic expectations either. I'm talking about having a good expectation, a higher expectation than nothing's gonna be so great, okay? And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please take a minute and do that. And we'll see you here next time.